Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Levittown Public Library Egoscue class with Kimberly on November 29th, Monday, 2021. Take it away, Kimberly.
Here we are. Welcome back. Hope you're all stuffed from your Thanksgiving celebrations. We're going to work it off today. Some of you might be new. I'm noticing some new names. I want you guys to think about me as not being an expert. I'm a total fool. So if you feel something today that doesn't feel right, that something hurts, it just doesn't feel right to you, please stop the movement or stop the exercise. I'll do my best to give you as many modifications as I can. But if it's not working out for you, just stop the exercise. I will move on briefly. So don't give up on yourselves either. What we're going to be using today is really simple stuff. We don't have any special tools. We're going to take a belt. And this is my yoga strap I used from yoga. A couple of weeks ago, I just used a regular belt, a leather belt, and I tightened it up. You want to have resistance on it. You don't want to use a PT strap, one of those rubber bands. No. You want a real belt. Other thing we're going to be using today is a block or a pillow. Some of you have yoga blocks. You can use that. I have an Egoscue block, which is just a large sized foam, a lot of resistance block created by Egoscue, right? It's just foam. So if you're using a pillow off of your bed, just fold it in half so you have a lot of resistance. Other thing we're going to be using today is going to be our trusty chair or an ottoman. I used to use beds, but beds are getting taller and taller nowadays. It's crazy, right? So beds are a little bit too tall to use for our purposes. So a chair would be better, or an ottoman, or even piling up a bunch of pillows on the floor may be helpful as well. I've done that in certain situations. We're going to start out in a standing position. I want everybody, let's assess. And usually by the end of the routine, I forget to ask you to reassess. So those of you that are new or want to try it out, I want you to reassess at the end and just see what changed. So I'm going to march in place just for a few steps, 4 steps, and then stop and just feel where your body is. This is our assessment, just so we could watch from our baseline. This is our baseline, how things change, what changes for you. Notice if you're leaning more into one foot or the other, maybe more forward or back. Are you moving forward or back? Are you kind of moving in a circle? Just notice. This is just your own baseline. We're going to do a functional test, which means we're going to test if your stuff is working right. I don't care which leg it is. You're going to pick up one of your knees to hip height. And usually the first leg that you pick up, that's usually the one that you don't lean on too heavily. We usually lean on one leg as opposed to the other because most of us are out of balance. So I tend to lean more heavily on my right leg. So it feels more comfortable for me to lift my left leg up. So I use that as a test too. Go ahead and try the other side. Just notice what happens. If you feel like, whoa, I'm unstable, hang on to something. But you might feel more stable on the other leg. We're just noticing differences. Next thing I want you to do is fold at your waist. Some of you might not even be able to fold at your waist. Your fold may look like this. Waist is stuck and you bend from your back. So everybody's fold is going to look different. And just notice, is one of my hamstrings, the back of the leg, tighter than the other? Can I almost reach my toes? Am I even reaching the toes? Where am I reaching? Where do my hands fall? What does it feel like? Hopefully I'll remember to go through those tests again before we end our day together. But we're going to start out incorporating some exercises so our body can now realign itself. We're going to stand at the wall. I want you to bring your heels to the wall, everybody. And keep your feet hip distance. That's about $1. Everybody has $1, right? You remember those? Remember those things that we used to have before we transitioned to cashless society here? $1. That's about the width, the distance between your hip joints. If we follow that straight down your legs, that should hit the very center of your kneecaps and also the very center of your ankles. So keep thinking that dollar bill width. That's hip distance. We're just going to stand here for a few minutes. That's it. This is standing at wall. Crazy, right? I don't want you to force anything on the wall. Don't try to force your head on the wall if your head's not on the wall. The only thing that should be coming to the wall is your heels. Now, some of you might have a different shape in your behind. If that's happening to you, and if you have a different shape in your behind, it's actually pushing you off of the wall. So you feel like you're doing this crazy back bend and you're going to fall forward. Step your foot forward a few inches, both of your feet. The point of this move is to stack your ankles, knees, hips, and shoulders. So if the shape of your behind is pushing your hips out way further forward than your shoulders, you're going to feel like you're going to fall forward. So just go ahead and take a step forward. You might notice one calf is touching the wall, one shoulder is touching the wall. Just notice. We're going to stay for one more minute, everybody. In the past, when we've done this, I'll usually stick you in internal rotation from both of your hips, so we go pigeon-toed. But we're just going to do just standing at wall. Believe it or not, this will actually cause change as well. I know the new pain-free book is out too. I didn't get it. They've got enough of my dough. Somebody's got a used version. I'll maybe buy that from them. But I've read pain-free too many times. But if anybody has the new pain-free, let me know what you think. Is it worth it for me to drop $5 on the new Peter Gosky book? Fantastic. We're going to stay at the wall. We're going to work through windmill now. Not everybody is going to have a nice clean wall, and I've got the baseboard heater there, so I'm going to pretend that I have a wall behind me. I'm going to stand in that same position, and I'm going to bring my arms out to a T. If this hurts anybody with your shoulders, go ahead and lower your arms or put your hands on your waist. But we're only going to move through our waist. Notice my hips stay right over my heels. You got to check yourself here because I can't see everybody. I'd be up at the iPad the whole time, swishing through left, right. Okay, what are you doing? What are you doing? So you got to check yourself here. When you lean left to right, I want you to imagine that your body is still against the wall. And I don't want you to slide your hips left or right to get it accomplished. I also don't want you to move through your shoulders. You don't want any planes from LaGuardia landing on your house. Don't move through your shoulders. Keep your arms out to a T. Keep them stuck there. Only moving through the waist. We're going to separate the feet even wider. We're going 1.5 feet to maybe 2 feet wide. Keep your feet parallel though. So this is much wider than hip distance, clearly. And keep your feet parallel. One side of my pelvis is usually more stuck than the other and stuck in a totally different position than the other. So as I lean left to right, I'm just sharing with you my experience. Maybe you'll relate. I can feel my pelvis trying to avoid the load and trying to shift back and forth like a Michael Jackson kind of move. So keep your hips dead straight right over the floor between your feet. Only place we're moving from is your waist. So I'm just sharing that because I just noticed that I was actually sliding my hips without paying attention to it. The wider we go, the harder your hips are going to have a harder time moving anyway. So keep them in place, move only from your waist. We're going about maybe 3 feet wide. Go as wide as you can. Keep your feet pointed straight ahead. Please don't do this in socks on your linoleum floor. Does anybody even have linoleum anymore? Don't do that in socks because you're going to slide. Use your sneakers or use a mat. This one's called the standing windmill. Some of my clients can't stand. Well, actually, only one of my clients can't stand anymore. So we do this sitting sometimes. And when I feel like a real monster, I'll make her stand up. I'll say, just do it anyway. Do the best you can. You want to listen to your body. Everybody, bring your feet right back underneath your hips. So a lot of my clients, even my students, just get creative and they say, hey, look, I figured this out. I don't want to give up completely on the move. So I just did it the best that I could. And this feels better or this feels different. So go for it. Listen to your body. That's what I meant when I said, I'm not an expert. You're the expert. If something feels good and your body's not telling you, hey, stop, then go ahead, keep doing it. Come on out, everybody. I'm going to take you down to hands and knees. Can't get on hands and knees, you're just going to sit on your chair. We're going to do cats and dogs now. So we're going to tie the shoulders together with the hips. I want you to keep your knees right underneath your hips. This is tough to do if you don't have somebody looking at you. And put your hands right underneath your shoulders. So just do the best that you can. Remember, you want to keep your knees hip distance. So I take my fist, put it between my knees just to get the little reference there. Move through your hips and through your shoulders. So I'm going to arch my back. My pelvis moves first. Shoulders and head move last. Keep your elbows nice and straight. And then I round. I'm trying to initiate this movement from my pelvis, I've caught so many people initiating this movement from their head. That's not wrong, but the style in which we're using today is dedicated to get our hips back in charge. For many of us, our hips have gotten into a weakened state and locked up, and our upper body is overcompensating. So we want to be hip driven. We're designed to be hip driven. Like a kangaroo, it doesn't walk around on its hands. It moves bilaterally, both legs at the same time, hop, 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 hop. They don't really unilaterally walk, not like us. Good. Come on out of that, everybody. I'm going to put you all in a chair next, and we're going to do some seated work. Bring your strap and bring your pillow with you, or your block with you. In fact, I'm going to put this right here so you can see from the front and from the side. Strap and pillow with you. Makes it too squishy when I sit. When you sit down, I don't want you sitting on a couch, of course, because what we want to do is adhere to 90-degree angles. So you're going to have to sit in your kitchen chair. Do not use the back of the chair. We're going to use your muscles to hold you upright. You're going to put your feet right underneath your knees. So you want 90-degree angles. I know I'm wearing these big bell bottoms here, but I'm pulling them out of the way so I could see, yes, my heels are right underneath my knees. I'm going to put the block right in between the knees. And now we're going to set up your pelvis. Everybody slouch. And I want you guys to roll your pelvis into the opposite direction. Right now, everybody's pelvis is in posterior tilt. We're going to put it in anterior tilt, but I want you to do it from your pelvis, not from your back. You're going to roll a little arch into your lower back. That's it. Now, a lot of you who are new, you're going to cheat, and you're going to do this by lifting your sternum. No, you should be relaxed in your sternum, be relaxed in your shoulders. So roll a little arch into your lower back, hold it there, squeeze the pillow repeatedly. Squeeze, release, squeeze, release. Keep that arch in your lower back. It's not a hard arch. I'm not trying to keep my back arched like so. No, see how relaxed I am in my shoulders? Just a little arch in my lower back. It's actually from me pulling in my groin area. If you feel like you're losing that little arch in your lower back and the sensation is creeping up to your mid back, more than likely your muscles in your groin area, the hip flexors, have gotten fatigued and they just shifted the workload into your back. So you can take a break and reset. Try to pull it from your groin. We want the pelvis to tip forward. And if you guys are new, you might have noticed when you tip your pelvis forward, it actually does change what goes on through your spine all the way up into your head. That's the key. The body certainly is a unit. That's what Peter Gascu always says. Body works as a unit. You can't change one thing and then expect nothing else to change. You change one thing, everything else must follow. Must follow. Layers of systems, that's what's going on. And we don't really know what's going on, do we? I love reading these articles. Doctors found something new, scientists, something new, because you never knew it from the first, because we didn't design it. We didn't design the human body. So we're always learning. That's why I told you in the beginning, I am no expert. You are. We're going to take this a little bit further, everybody. We're going to do heel raises, but we're going to keep the toes on the floor. So even though this might feel like it's a calf exercise, I want you to be really light on your toes and try to think of it like you have strings on your knees and you're lifting your knees using the strings like a marionette. The other way I like to think of it is maybe my feet are on broken glass and you want to be really, really light on your toes because you don't want to cut yourself. What that's going to do is it's going to force all the work to come into your hips. So eventually what we're going for is picking the legs completely up off of the floor. And that is a hip motion. It should be hip flexor doing the work. But I'm going to allow your calves to help it along just a little bit. But if you keep that cue in mind to be light on your toes, it's going to force all the work to come to your hips. This is one of the exercises I give people who are experiencing some knee discomfort, knee pain. I was right there when I tore my MCL. That very day, got back to the hotel. I'm doing these. I'm pressing out, even though it was ripped pretty darn good. I was doing all of these moves as long as they didn't hurt to make sure my hips were working as close to 100% as they could because I knew I did something bad in my knee. Did something bad in my knee. So if you think about it, where do you feel all this work taking place? Where do you feel this? Maybe you feel this right here in your pockets. Maybe you feel it in your calves. Maybe you feel it in the arches of your feet. More than likely, you guys are saying, oh, I feel it right here, right around the pelvis. Good. It's such a small move, right? I'd say, welcome to muscles that don't work. Small move for big muscles that are maybe on the weak side, which is why it kind of hurts, why you feel that feeling of work. We're going to switch out the block for the strap now. If you think about all this wonderful work we're doing with the hips, and you consider the position we're putting the knees and the feet in, for those of you that are new, how is this going to help somebody who might have an ankle problem? How would this help somebody that might have a knee problem? Just chew on that for a little while. So even though we replaced the block with the strap, we're still going to sit in the same position with our pelvis. So you're going to just sit back in the slouch. This is our posterior tilt. And you're going to take the pelvis and tip it forward, a little arch in your lower back. Notice my shoulders are still on top of my hips. I do have that tendency to lean forward a little bit. So having this camera in my face is really helpful. No, we're not going to lift with the heels. We're just going to push out and release. I'm going to do the same routine that we did with the block. So we're going to start with the feet flat on the floor, make sure they're parallel and pointed straight ahead. Now push out repetitively. You might be feeling one side is doing something different than the other. Maybe you were feeling that when we were using the block. After a while, it should balance itself out. It should balance out. If it doesn't, sometimes I'll leave people here for, heck, I left one girl laying on the floor doing glute squeezes for 20 minutes until they kicked on. There was nothing else that I could give her to reduce the effort that her body was giving. We were in like the easiest position I could possibly give her. So all we had to do was just wait. We had to just wait. And all of a sudden she felt her butt turn on. So with this move as well, you should be feeling some sensation, I'd say in the outsides of the thighs. Eventually you should be feeling it in the gluteus medius, which is right here. Almost on the side, right up here, right underneath your pelvic bone here. Wow, it's going right out of my head. What the heck that bone's? Oh, the crest, iliac crest. So this actually is a movement designed to get your butt to turn on, but it is not a glute squeeze. Keep pressing out with your knees. Now we're going to press out and we're going to hold And we're going to do the heel lifts. Again, I like to double check, make sure my heels are right underneath my knees. My feet are pointed straight ahead. And we're doing that lift. So I'm pushing out on the strap and lifting my heels off the floor, lowering them back down, back and forth, up and down, trying to be light on my toes. And that's going to force the work into my hips. So if we just leaned on the feet, this really would be just a silly calf exercise. And it's not a bad thing. Maybe you have weak calves. Maybe you do. But we're going to send this work into the hips. Try to be light on your toes. Just for this one. Keep the pressure on the strap. It doesn't have to be intense pressure. Maybe 30% of your effort. Just enough to keep the hips. Let's see. Well, yeah, they are bilateral, aren't they? I have nobody to talk to here. Nobody talks back to me. I feel so lonely. They are bilateral, but we want to keep even pressure as best we can. So it's going to recruit both of the legs as evenly as we can. That's our goal here. What we're doing is going through plantar flexion over and over and over with our ankles, but we're doing it while we recruit these new muscles. So that's going to change the pattern of how we walk and how we stand. In fact, we're going to check that out because we're going to take this off in a few seconds and we're just going to do another assessment. We're going to check what's changed in our bodies because we're almost midway. Oh, this feels so good. This is one of my favorites. One of my favorites to push out on the strap. Igniting our butts that we sit on. Go ahead and take it off. Stand up and just retest yourself. Go ahead and march in place and just notice, how does it feel? You can even go through some of those tests, bending over, touching your toes. Is it better? Is it worse? It might be worse, but worse is okay because that's a change. So we impacted it. If you're noticing that it's worse, maybe you need different exercises. This is how we turn you into the expert. Okay, guys, we're going to take it down to the floor now. Down to the floor. Crunching in my knee. That's fun. Let's do some stretches. We're going to do upper spinal floor twist. And everybody that's been with me, you know, these aren't just stretches. There's work involved in them too. Now I'm going to lay on my left side, so my cueing is uniform. And it's just like I'm sitting in my chair, 90 degrees in my hips and in my ankles. I'm going to put my palms on top of each other just to start. And take my left hand and place it on the very top of my knees here. So it's on the outside of my right knee. So I'm going to do that to keep my knees in a vertical stack. I'm opening up my top arm. Anybody who's new, I want you to take a look. I'm keeping my wrist in line with my elbow, in line with my shoulder, all the way across. So I'm not letting my hand drop down towards my butt. I'm keeping it open like a book, the pages of the book. And yeah, my arm is kind of hanging out in space because there's so much tension in my upper back, lower back, hips. It's not allowing me to hit the floor. And that's okay. We're just going to hang out here for 1 minute. Do not cheat. Even though the goal is to get your shoulder, arm, and back of your head on the floor, if that's not happening for you, do not unstack your knees in order to get there. We want to keep the pelvis, your knees, and your ankles stacked vertically. So we have to retrain your body, your tissues. Retrain them, re-educate them that, yes, you are designed to do this. Remember, remember, remember. That's what we're doing. If you feel this in the joint of the shoulder or towards this front part of the shoulder, your arm probably slid down towards your butt. I'd rather have your arm almost reaching up towards your ear with your elbow straight, reach towards the wall behind you, rather than have your arm down by your butt. Okay, that's 1 minute. I'm going to switch to the other side. It used to be my ugly side, but it's getting better. Looks much better. Okay, get your stack. Put your hand on top of your knees. You want to use that as an assist to hold your knees in place. I even use that to feel, okay, am I cheating? Did I slide? Top arm opens. Okay, it is kind of ugly. It doesn't want to go. But I'm just going to breathe and hang out here. Some of my clients, I keep them in this position for 3 minutes. You want to go longer? Go longer. Usually 3 minutes is enough to get a good change out of this. Every exhale, you can focus on relaxing and trying to get the tissues to let go, reaching towards the ground. This side feels different. Take it for 5 more breaths. Okay, everybody, I'm going to have you laying on your back. Forgot to give you a modification on that one. If you get really creative, you can sit in a chair and still get the same thing done. You could sit in a chair and just twist your body. Sorry, I forgot to give you a mod for that. We're going to put the block or pillow behind you. We're going to do pullover presses into the ground. We're going to do it in the frog position, if that's okay. Frog position is both of your feet touch and you bring your heels as close to your crotch as you can. I'm going to lay down on our back when we do this. You're going to put the block behind you or the pillow behind you. Now, if you can't reach that far towards the pillow, add more pillows. So you might have to have a pillow that's, I don't know, maybe 10 inches off the ground. Maybe you want to put a carton of milk there. It depends on how far your arms can go back. So I'm getting in my position. Elbows stay nice and straight as I interlace my hands. It's a regular frog pullover. But we're going to drop the arms back onto our block, wherever that is. You don't want to bend your elbows. So if you notice, hey, I'm bending my elbows just so I can reach the block, then you've got to get a taller block or just pile up some more stuff. Okay? So we're pressing the arms back, leave them on the block, and you're going to apply pressure onto the block or the pillow over and over again. This is a repetitive move. Keep your elbows straight. Press, release. Man, this one's work on my left side. Should be even, but certainly isn't after some of the incidents I've put that shoulder through. And you may have a similar situation. Maybe when you come into the frog position, one of your knees might be pointing up towards the sky. It's good to get both of them balanced as we can, but we've got to take what the body can give. Maybe you've had a hip replacement. Maybe you got something else going on. It's not something that we can fix in a group class setting, but if you're not feeling pain, it's no big deal. So you can definitely get this done. If you're sitting in a chair, you can sit and put your feet on another chair in front of you and come into the frog position and just wait there for a few moments. The pullover certainly won't work if you're sitting in a chair, so you're just going to do frog sitting in a chair and just hang out there. Work, work, work. Remember, I'm repetitively pressing into the block or whatever the heck I got piled up behind me. You're going to feel this work coming down into your back. You might feel this in your shoulder. You might feel this in your hand. Maybe your hand or forearm starts to cramp. Over and over. Just a few more now. I'm going to take you into static extension position now, everybody. We're going to go on to the hands and knees. If you can't do that, you can just stand in front of your wall And you're going to put your arms on the wall in front of you. And what you can do is let your shoulders come back and down like you were doing a plank against the wall. And then you're just going to squeeze your shoulder blades together and hold them there as you lean against the wall. Everybody else, we're going to be on hands and knees. And when we come to hands and knees, start out like we did before in the cats and dogs. Look in between your knees. Make sure you cannot see your ankles. It's a good test for you. I'm going to walk the hands forward 6 inches. Put your palm where your fingertips are. And then slide forward with your body. Put your shoulders back over your wrists. Elbows stay straight here, everybody. Let your shoulder blades drop together so your chest falls to the floor. You don't want your shoulders coming to your ears. You want them retracting. And just like a sway back horse, you're going to let your belly fall towards the floor as well, and your head. Now, some of you are doing this, and I don't see anybody doing this because you guys are all, you're big boys and big girls, been with me for years, some of you. This is not a plank. This shouldn't look like a plank. It shouldn't feel like a plank. So if you feel an intense amount of work in your back, your hands are probably way too far forward. So go ahead and walk them back. If you feel pain in your wrists, you can do this on your fists. That doesn't mean keep your hands on the floor and just curl your fingers in. I've caught a few of you doing that. What you want to do is take the bend out of your wrist because that's what's causing you pain. One more modification. If your elbows keep bending, what you can do is separate your hands wider than shoulder width. The wider they go from each other, the easier it's going to be to retract your shoulders. I'm going to stay here for one more minute if you guys can stay. If you can't, then just get out of it. I see one of you even doing this on your elbows. Good for you. Been with me long enough that you know all the different modifications that I have spit out in this move, and that works for you. Believe it or not, we're putting load onto the hip flexors, which is why I brought you guys forward in order to do this. That's why we're putting the hips 6 inches forward of the knees. 10 seconds. We're going to do another test, everyone. Come on out. Go ahead and stand up. Check yourselves out. Things may be better. Things may be worse. If you don't want to stand up and check yourself out, lay back down on the floor because we're going to go back there. I want you to bring your block with you. We're going to do hip flexor abdominals. Oh, awesome. Look at that. I know my thumbs are pointed straight ahead there. Well, not the straightest. Usually it's like this from my left shoulder. And I could feel it already. My shoulder position is pulled back, and that's changing the position of my thumbs. You guys might check that out too. Check yourselves out. Hip flexor abdominals. We're going to get a little tough here now. You don't have to do this laying on the floor. You can do this laying in a chair. It's a little bit easier. You're going to bring your block with you. This is not an easy move. We're not only going to do a crunch, a Egoscue style, but we're also going to lift the legs up off of the floor too. If that's too much, don't lift the legs. You can do a crunch sitting in a chair. Yeah, gravity is working differently against you. It's working for you, but we're going to interlace the hands behind the head. And I want you to keep drawing your elbows towards the floor. This is going to keep your shoulders coming back and down, just like in the move we just did. So I was prepping you. Keep drawing your elbows back and down, even though we're going to crunch up. I want you to help yourselves by looking at a point on the ceiling behind you. Even if that point's imaginary, keep staring at it. We're going to lift the upper body as a unit. Shoulders, elbows, head, neck. We're lifting it as a unit, 2 inches off the floor and back down, just a little bit, even if you don't lift up at all. Elbows stay back and down. We want to keep the upper body in extension for this move. Usually a crunch is rounding forward and reaching your elbows to your knees. Do not use that style here. It's a different style. So give you guys a couple of seconds to feel this out. And if you feel okay, you're going to lift your feet off the floor, just like we did with the heel raises, except the toes are going to come off the floor as well. So it's about 2-inch lift. We're going to do this simultaneously. Shoulders, elbows, head, neck, and feet. Lift, lower, lift, lower. Now the block stays in between our knees just so that we can keep a little bilateral function, a little symmetry and recruitment in both of our hips. And we're going to do this to the end of class, which is a whole half hour. I can't keep that going. I'm kidding, of course. I'm kidding. And what's a whole half anyway? It's like jumbo shrimp. It's a whole half. What's a whole half? Keep staring at that point on the ceiling. If you lose that point, that means you're reaching your head forward, you're starting to round your shoulders. Remember, even if you can't lift up off of the ground, at least you're engaging the muscles that will eventually lift you up off of the ground. So just hold tight with the form and do what you can. What we're doing is we're retraining your abdominals in this new pattern to keep your shoulders back and down. But most of the time, we train the abdominals in a lot of spinal flexion, which isn't a bad thing. But for most of us, we keep our shoulders in this protracted position. Like, shh, don't tell her, but my sister's shoulders are completely protracted. They never go back. And that's not a position you want to get into. I'm whispering because she's in the other room. A few more because it feels so good, right, everybody? 5, 4, yeah, we did 50, or I did 3, 2, I did 100. 1, relax. Oh, wow, that felt really good on my arm. As hard as it was, that felt real good on my arm. We're gonna stand up again, everybody. I know, so much up, down, up, down. We're gonna do a move called active cow face. Active cow face. This is not an easy move. When I had a shoulder injury, this was almost impossible. So you can do what you can or just skip it. We're only going to spend maybe a minute here doing it. So I'm going to stand with my feet pointed straight ahead, and the movement is going to come from my arms. If you've taken yoga, you know cow face is one arm up, one arm behind you. Oh, boy, that's tough. I'm going to try to touch your fingers behind you. But we're going to turn this into an active move. So we're going to go back and forth between the two. Try to reach, try to reach. Just for 1 minute. Stand with your feet pointed straight ahead, give it a shot. I don't care how far you go. Maybe you're just touching your hip and your head. And get creative. Get creative. Get creative, but don't pick the lazy way out because I'm watching you. Everybody looks great. And I noticed, especially when I was rehabbing my shoulder in the early days, in order to get this move done, I started bending it and pulling my head out of the way. Man, it looked ugly. Man, did it look ugly. So try to stay upright and just move through your arms and shoulders. Don't try to compensate with any other part of the body. This is actually a routine that we just came into called Step Up Your Game. And that's another one that I stole from Agoscu before they took it off of online. I'm going to come back down to hands and knees again. We're going to do the bird dog. If you have a hard time being on your hands and knees and you'd rather lay down doing this, you can do a cross crawl. So pretend I'm laying on my back. Cross crawl looks like this: right arm, left leg, left arm, right leg. So you can lay down on the floor doing that. That's another option. You could also stand up and do what I just did. But this is a toughie. Hands and knees. You're going to reach your left leg back. If you feel off balance, just keep the foot on the floor for now. Reach your right arm forward. Eventually, everything should lift and you should be able to find balance. The muscles of the hip, the leg that's still on the ground, should create that balance. But if they don't, then you might feel off balance. Over and over, reaching and switching. If you feel off balance, just do what you can. Keep the foot on the floor for now, or try to lift it up. Try to keep your knees straight. Try to keep your elbows straight. This is work for shoulder and hip. And of course, between the two, all the muscles and tissues down your back. Gluten your butt. Gluten your butt. Looking good. I like everybody's pace. You don't have to go as fast as I was going. I'm just switching back and forth. Good. Coming out, we're going to do frog abdominals now. I know, so much work on the abs. What are you doing, Kim? Well, that's what they have here. So we're going to do it. We're going to take the body into frog. So the feet are touching and the knees are bent and they're going to drop out. We're going to do more crunches in that Agascu style while we lay down and do this. If you're sitting in a chair and you're not getting on the floor with us, just hang out in frog position. That's okay. If you feel like you can do it, keep your feet pressed together and lift your feet up off of the floor. Same thing that we were doing before, involving the hips while we were crunching the upper body. Here we go. Keep looking at that spot on the ceiling behind you. Remember that? That's going to keep your upper body in extension. I'm not lifting terribly high. Remember, oh, cramps. Nice. Remember what? Oh, it won't go away. Hang on. That's my left side. It's my weak side. Okay, I'm back. Remember, it's not about how high you go. It's about keeping the form, because we're re-educating the body how to recruit muscles in a new way. Guaranteed, you're not doing this move every day or anything that even looks like it. Okay, that was funny. I finally got a cramp in my hamstring. I expected that. You don't have to go as fast as me. You could do 2. You could do 1. You could do none. Just watch me do it. And the best exercise you can give yourselves is just sitting down watching somebody else do it on YouTube. No, really, really. That's the best. In fact, if you could do that while you eat corn chips, that's even better. That's even better. Five more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Holy cow. I should have wore shorts. I'm going to roll you guys over onto your belly if you'll come with me. We're going to do Cobra, and we're going to change the position of the legs while we do our Cobra today. I stole that from the pain-free DVD, which one of the libraries has. One of the libraries has a pain-free DVD. So when we do Cobra, we're laying on our belly. And what you're going to do is, this is a really involved move, but I know you guys can do it. So I'm just going to set you all up. You're going to keep your elbows right underneath your shoulders and try to keep your arms parallel. If you know modified golf grip, go ahead and take it. Doesn't bother me if you just keep your hands open for now, because I'm nowhere near being able to even show you that modified golf grip. I'd have to come closer. We're going to drop the shoulder blades together. Remember that move we did before on our hands and knees? And keep the shoulder blades back and down. Now, if you can, you're going to rotate outward from both shoulders. What that's going to do is it's going to separate your arms, and they're going to look like they come to a Y position. So there's a lot of work going on in the shoulders right now. If you feel pain, go ahead and flop over on your back and just lay on your back in frog or some other position that feels good, because we're going to hold this for at least a minute. So I'm dropping in, rotating out, keeping it. Now I'm going to take my legs into frog position. I'm going to press my feet together and hold. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Shoulders back and down. 3, 2, 1. We're going to change the leg position. Keep the arms. I'm going to extend my knees, tuck my toes as if I was going to do a push-up out of this, and push into the ground. Thighs tight. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now bring your legs together. Legs are straight up behind you. Tuck your toes again as if you're going to do a push-up. Keep your shoulders back and down. Hold. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Rest. Wow, my left arm's tired. How do you guys feel after that? Glam sequence is next, and then I'll take you guys down. Glam sequence is laying on your back. We're actually going to get all of the muscle, I think every one of them, of the posterior chain to kick on. So we're going to change positions of the legs. I'm going to give you 1 minute to do this move. It's like doing jumping jacks, except without your arms. So we're going to keep the legs straight out and push into the floor, split the legs open and push into the floor. If I were laying on the floor, it would just look like this. Arms are relaxed. I'm in this position, push into the floor. I'm in this position, push into the floor. When I push into the floor, my butt's going to come up off the floor. That might not happen for you. Maybe you got a little bit of weakness going on. So when I push, I get this. I split my legs, I push, I get this. That might not happen for you, but we're going to give this a shot for 1 minute. You take your time, legs straight, toes up to the ceiling. No matter what you do, even when your legs are open, try to point your toes up to the ceiling. This is glam sequence. Push your heels into the ground and lift. Over and over. Ugh. Hips, butt, back. My goodness. Remember, if this is bothering you, if this doesn't feel good, go ahead and lay in another position. You could bend your knees and just rest, but listen to your body. Remember, I'm not an expert, and I'm trying my best to cover all my bases for all the different postures that have showed up today for class. Fantastic. We are going to end this in a static back. Go ahead and put your legs up on your chair or your ottoman or whatever it is. You want to keep in the back of your mind that I'm adhering to 90-degree angles. So I don't want my heels higher than my knees. I don't want my heels lower than my knees. I really want to trap the body in this 90-degree space. Let's hang out here for a few minutes. Not too long, just a few. When we lay in static back, you want to keep your face neutral to the ceiling, but you don't want to do it consciously. You want to be able to relax here. So if your face is pointed behind you, your shoulders might be so rounded off the floor that it's changing the position of your head. So if that's happening to you, put a pillow underneath your head in order to get your face a little more neutral to the ceiling. That'll take any tension out of your neck too. If you're feeling neck tension while you're laying in this position, probably need a little pillow. Modification for this might be, hey, I can't get on the floor. I'll do this on my bed. It's not going to be the same as the floor, but it's better than nothing. You can also sit in a chair and walk your tailbone all the way back so that the back of the chair is actually helping you to sit upright, sit as balanced and even as you can. And just hang out there. 1 more minute. I know many of you were helped by this class as demonstrated by your attendance. Thank you so much for your support. I did have one student correct me and she says, I'm not supporting you, I'm supporting me. I went, whew, oh snap. So if you find that this is beneficial and know other people that might benefit from it, let them know about the class. This is one of the easiest ways to get your foot in the door, is by taking a class. I mean, heck, it's the Levittown Library. So it's free, it's great. No strings attached. All right, everybody. If you didn't fall asleep on me, go ahead and stand up. We're gonna reassess, go through some of those tests that we did, functional tests. Could just start out just by standing. Go ahead, do what you did before, march in place, check it out. Wow, did I get worse? Am I better? What I notice after I do a menu is I feel more grounded, more stable, more rooted. Check out your functional tests, every one of them. We picked up one knee up to the hip. We bent over to touch the ground. Just notice what changed for you. Hopefully you got some change. Change means there's hope. It means your body is actually adapting to something that you gave it today. That is a good thing. So don't force. I feel like Wim Hof saying never force, which is a great set of words to always adhere to. Never force. Just let your body change as it will. That's what all of these moves are for. The body has a lot of wisdom, so trust in that. Thank you guys so much for being with me today. I hope you enjoyed class and me beating the crud out of you. I'll see you next week.